Lair of Behemoths, Magic's upcoming set, is still largely a mystery. Some hints from the creative team seem to promise some of the most ambitious creature mechanics and card typings ever to be printed. But how will this actually be achieved on the cardboard, and what creature types do we want to see in this ostentatious set? The following audio that you're about to hear is mine and Nathan's first attempt at remote recording. Due to self-isolation and enforced social distancing by the UK government, we have to stay inside, so bear with us. It's not perfect, but we're still here talking about magic flavour and lore, and we hope you enjoy the following episode. Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things magic flavour, design and lore. My name is Andy Mann.
Hello, Nathan Cancel.
And this week we are sounding like hot garbage because we are doing some remote recording nonsense.
We're adhering to social distancing.
Exactly, which, you know, is the sensible thing to do. And it is also now governmentally enforced in the UK.
Stay inside and wash your hands.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, this is it. Like, so in the UK, they've now introduced like an official lockdown because people didn't listen beforehand when they were given the choice to go outside and potentially be arse hats or stay inside and just watch a bit of telly.
What did you think was going to happen?
Well, yeah. The UK public. UK people are wonderful. We're UK people.
Yeah.
UK public are troublesome. Yeah. But hey ho, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Magic the Gathering, and specifically we're here to talk about Ikoria.
Ikoria.
Yeah. It's coming up. Like, it's going to be here soon. And as far as everyone's kind of considered, they are still going to be doing a pre-release of sorts. Yeah. I don't think people are going to be doing many paper pre-releases. I know that our LGS Rule Zero in Hackney are selling the packs, which we can then obtain at a more convenient time. So they're still selling the pre-release packs, and then people can have their own little private pre-releases, I suppose. But yeah, I know that the paper tournament is not going ahead. So
shame, but I mean, at the same time, global pandemics have effects on everything.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, do you know what? Magic in general has been rallying around really well in terms of, like, so WotC, for example, are doing all sorts of initiatives by doing like Magic Fests on Magic Arena. Magic Online's getting involved. People are figuring out ways to play paper Magic from their homes using like Discord servers and like all those kinds of different video things. Content creators like us are, still doing remote recording. And I think because we're not streamers in any other capacity. We're not Twitch streamers. We don't do sort of self-records. So unfortunately, we're not the most set up to do remote recording. And I'm going to just say apology now for the sound quality from both myself and Nathan, because this is something we've just had to figure out now.
And you've got very used to how beautiful we sounded bebeforehand, so this is going to be...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, the way we used to record is we've got a Blue Yeti, which is quite a popular microphone, and we used to use one Blue Yeti to record both of our voices in the same room, because that's just how we prefer to do it. But now we are having to record remotely, and yeah, we're going to figure it out. We will get better, and if we don't get better, then there's not much you can do about it, because you can't go outside, so you can't come and tell us off.
If we sound better, we're being poor sports, so we are not following and adhering to what we're supposed to do.
Exactly, yes. So recently, Gavin Verhey and Mark Rosewater have released several little tidbits about Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. Mark Rosewater put out a article recently, and then Gavin Verhey's been doing these little 1 to 2 minute videos on Twitter, on his Twitter account. It's kind of, I guess, to make people feel, a little bit more connected to the Magic world, and this might be stuff that they might have released before.
Yeah. But we might not be the only ones who are bored. Gavin Verhey
might be sat in his flat just going, "Oh, I don't care if I've got an NDA. I'm going to tell people about this set coming up."
Exactly.
And what can they do? It's Gavin Verhey, so whatever. And yeah, they've given us some pretty juicy tidbits about what's coming up.
Yeah, the preface to this is that the leaks from Gavin are specifically the Commander product that comes out with Ikoria.
Yes.
Whereas Marrow's is the actual set itself, Lair of Behemoths.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily cross the two different leaks over together. If you do know some information, you go and look at this afterwards. Do be aware that Gavin's specifically talking about the Commander product.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the stuff in the Commander products are ripped straight from the set, because they are doing them linked together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there are some things that they'll be able to do in the Commander product that are new and Ikoria based, which we'll get onto in a little bit, that they obviously won't have done in the set. for
Sure.
space reasons and coherency and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Because obviously Ikoria itself is not a commander set. It is a standard set, as your regular expansion set, whereas the commander product will obviously be a little bit bigger, a little bit stranger, and a little bit more off the wall.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Speaking of off the wall, though.
Yeah, well, because there are two different sort of approaches. I say two, there are lots of different approaches, but there seems to be two kind of big sort of flagpole approaches to set design outside of the top-down, bottom-up set designs, when they kind of have their like attitude, if you like, towards set building. And one of them seems to be if they do something that's quite sort of straight down the line and serious, whether it's a top-down set or not. So say something like Amonkhet. They didn't take many sort of crazy bonkers ideas to try and add into Amonkhet. They were very clear they wanted to do a very sort of succinct Egyptian set. Whereas with this set, this definitely seems to be the one where they went, we really liked doing unsets, didn't we? Yes, we really did like doing unsets. Should we just do an unset in standard? And then they've just made Lair of Behemoths.
Yeah, the lines between silver border and black border have become very, very vague. The shades are meeting in the middle a little bit too much sometimes, which I'm okay with because I love uncards in.
You're all right with that, are you?
I'm very much. I like wacky nonsense. I'm not a big fan of the whole. I get where Mario comes from, where he wants like lots of dice rolling and interactivity, and the game's like multifaceted, and it's not just playing cards down and using slogan words like play island pass and bolt the bird and that kind of thing. But it's kind of making it a bit more interactive. That side of it I don't necessarily care about, because involving dice and stuff like that actually becomes a bit generic. What I do like is when they do really, really crazy and crazy things, that they push the envelope of what's possible. Because I know then a few years down the line, when they start running out of all the normal ideas, they'll look back at the unsets and go, okay, well, actually, that's not so weird anymore. How can we then involve that into the actual regular game?
Yeah.
Like things like gotcha, I get do not work. You don't want to create the feeling of unfun. You don't want the game to feel too random, because it's already enough randomized anyway through the shuffling process and all that nonsense. So you don't want it to feel too much like luck based. You don't want it to be that you could try really, really hard the entire game, play really tightly, then your opponent does one ridiculously bonkers thing that could be. I mean, yeah, it's entertaining, but it's not exactly very fun. And obviously, from a competitive point of view, it's not very viable.
Sure.
But I think some of the cards I've tried to play over the last year, I don't think are too far removed from what's possible. I think there are just some things that they tell themselves aren't possible in Black Border that they might be a bit more flexible with.
They did use to print these kinds of cards. Like I did a mystery booster draft on the Friday, which they all kind of released. I did one of the sort of first ones at our shop, and one of my pools was a Goblin game, which feels like an uncard for sure. Yeah. But it's not. It's Black Border, and it's gone straight into Grenzo. And I reached out to Rustic Studies, Magic Man Sam, about it, because he did a video about Goblin Game, about the whole ethos of the card. And I think I just mentioned him in my Twitter thing, saying, I watched your video as research for this, and I suggest you go watch that video as well. And he messaged back going, I love my video. I don't think the card's very useful. The card is utter garbage, but it's fun.
Like, most cards that have Goblin in the name are either really, really good for being an efficient creature, or they're just silly.
Absolutely. But this set definitely seems, especially with things like the creature types that they're putting in, definitely seems like because they did what was the unmechanic where in Unstable Augment, where you could take the sort of front half and the back half of two different creatures and literally push them together to make a new creature, right? Well, it's like a cat pangolin or like an ape.
Yeah,
thing.
This leads very, very well into what I think the main subject of the conversation today is going to be, and that's kind of what I've titled it is what's that coming over the hill? Which I think is quite good, because not only is it going to be a monster, because looking at all of the artworks that we've seen so far spoiled, these creatures look titanically angry.
They don't seem happy at all.
And also, we're going to speculate a little bit on what we can, from the little tidbits we've been given, what kind of things can we, what conclusions can we jump to, whether educated or complete whimsy. What conclusions can we jump to?
Sure.
And I think the biggest thing is, we know from Surgeon General, we know that there is a keyword somewhere, whether it's keyword as an activated ability, as a triggered ability, or as a passive ability. We know that mutate is a word that is now in the Magic vernacular.
Mutate is going to be one of the abilities in this set, which was released by Mark Rosewater. Mutate was definitely a word. There's lots of different tidbits, and I've only written down the ones that I think really matter to today's subject, which is the creature typings. So firstly, we're going to see Magic's 7th egg creature with actual egg in the creature typing. There are going to be 13 different types of counters So there's Foreshadow, we know for certain is going to be a counter. There's going to be Fetch, which we know is going to be on a dog creature, so you can play Fetch with a dog.
Stop trying to make Fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, it's literally happening in this set. And one of the other counters that they've released, which is very interesting, is Experience. In the Commander products, there will be another Experience counters interacting creature of some description, and I think it's going to be legendary as well.
Yeah, I don't like how you just trumped all over my Mean Girls reference there like it was nothing.
Oh, sorry, I don't know Mean Girls.
Wow,
I know I can't say that.
Audience,
I'm a millennial and I don't really know that much about.
Oh,
is that Ooh, you horror? Is that Mean Girls?
Yeah.
All right, I know that one.
Thank you. You made up for it. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, that's a problematic one now.
So if you want to make that dog deck where you have Chakram Retriever, where it's getting that frisbee back, that back one pair, yeah, you can make this happen. We're getting there.
Did we do a shadow draft, a paper shadow draft where we had Chakram Retriever and his counterpart? We did, didn't we, for Battle Ball? Yeah, that was fun. Mutates is also a keyword we know is going to be in the set. And there's also an aura, which is going to grant the largest power and toughness of any aura in Magic the Gathering.
But that has to be +10/+10.
Why does it have to be +10/+10?
Because +10/+10 is the lead. No, it has to be bigger than that.
Oh, it has to be bigger than +10/+10.
Because Eldrazi Conscription was +10/+10.
Okay, I'm going to say...
That's the largest power and toughness giving aura that we have in the game so far.
How big does things get with Colossus Hammer?
Without talking about some like all that glitters, because that's variable based on the number of enchantments and
sure.
have in play.
This will definitely be like numbers on the
I reckon
aura.
+15. I reckon it'll be +20/+20.
Well, really, because I was going to say +13/+13 sounds like a good number, but then how big do things get with Colossus Hammer? Do you know? I've never played those.
+10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, +10/+10 and loses flying.
I think 13/13. That's going to be my pitch. Yeah.
I'm going to go bonkers nonsense. I'm going to go +20/+20. I'm going to go all the way. Shoot for the moon. I reckon it's going to be called Shoot for the Moon. It's not.
What colour is it going to be?
If it's aura, I reckon it's going to be in the wheelhouse of blue or green or white, because if it's a really, really large one, typically you don't get that in red, blue, or black.
Yeah. Okay.
That's me going by logic, but yeah. So as we were talking, one of the things that's funny is because I was looking at what we thought the way that the way Mutate was going to work, looking at all these creature types. And originally I thought it was going to be something to do with Transform. I thought we were going to get Transform back. I thought that eventually, with all these different counters that are being hinted at, that different creatures that do mutate were going to build up different types of counters when they've got enough of that counter type on them, kind of like level up, but not really, because then you take them all off, you flip it over, and that's it mutated into its nonsense thing. But in Mari's thing, he says that there is a quote on the text of saying for the number of times it has mutated. And you can't obviously just flip back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Plus, transform is already a word for flip. So as soon as I read that line, I was like, well, fuck transform. Okay, that's out the window. Because I originally thought when we saw these artworks for these, like, I'm going to call them kaijus because they essentially look kaiju-esque. And some of the artworks we've seen are quite Asian-inspired. And I thought what you'd see is the normal kind of like, you see the normal badger. And then when something happens it mutates, you get the demon badger, and it's in this weird and in the showcase version of the card, it's this really, I can imagine this super cool anime badger, like this like honey badger, vicious thick looking thing, and that to me made sense as soon as I saw the number of times it has mutated, and then also looking into Unstable and how well Augment worked, because it did. I didn't necessarily like the in the same way that flipping a card over can feel a bit unintuitive when you're playing with sleeves and stuff like that. Sometimes you're playing with sleeve and you're augmenting the sleeve and the card doesn't quite add up next to each other because you've got a bit of board of the sleeve around. For me, again, it's an aesthetic thing, It's a more tangible thing.
I don't think they'll do augment simply because they did that in an unset, and they don't really like bringing things directly from an unset over into a black border. It would be, in my mind, it was going to be something akin to augment, whether it's like the merge cards, what was it, meld in Shadows over Innistrad?
Something like that, maybe, where you take the card and it becomes, totem bestow. Of where because this is the way I see when you look at all of these crazy creature types. I don't think that these creature types are necessarily creature types in isolation. I think what they're doing is they're allowing you to mix the whale and the wolf together, or the otter and the horror together. These aren't the creature types that are printed on the card. These are the possibilities of creature types.
Well, see, now this was actually a question I was going to ask you, and it's interesting that you just jumped straight in, because my question was going to be, do you think these are standalone creatures, or do you think they're creatures?
I think realistically, if Mutate works the way I think it's going to, either you have a similar effect of what we had with the story cards in Eldraine, where it will have an initial creature type, and then it will have almost like embedded in the card. There'll be the normal little creature embedded in the corner, and then the bigger mutated creature is the rest of the card, and it has a very separate creature type. And then it starts as an otter, becomes a demon otter, or you get these 2 different cards and you fuse them together, and that's what allows you to make the crazy combos. And this is why some of these combos seem a bit weird and crazy, because I think they just went, what's the most obscure options that we can get out of all these different options?
So yeah, when they released these creature types, then do you think that they're doing a bit of a misdirect, because they've given us very specific 100%. Creature types, but is it basically them saying, well, no, we know there's like 70 creature types in the set, we're just going to say whatever creature types?
Yeah, this is exactly what I think. So I think not only does it generate hype, it doesn't ruin. Because if you go into the set and you go, oh, well, the Demon Otter wasn't what I wanted it to be, you go, well, actually, none of it's what you wanted it to be. We completely pulled the rug out from underneath you, but you still have the opportunity to, if you were excited by a Demon Otter, to make a demon.
It's telling you about the possibilities. All right, I'm going to go down the creature types that they have released then, and I think this kind of backs up our theory. So this is a merger of both the Gavin Verhey stuff and the Mark Rosewater stuff. We've got Goat Hydra, Cat Nightmare, Badger Dinosaur, Whale Wolf, which is brilliant. Dinosaur Cat tokens are a thing, so that one might be on the same card.
So that has to be on the same card.
Dinosaur Turtle, Shark Beast, Demon Kraken, which is the name of my new heavy metal band. Elemental Otter,
which is the name of my ska band.
Excellent. Brushwag, Helion Horror.
Yeah.
And everyone's favourite at the moment, Nightmare Squirrel.
Yeah. The fact that there are 2 different dinosaurs in that thing,
and 2 different nightmares as well.
That's where I feel like they've kind of not spoilt it, but as in like they've kind of like let a little bit to, because it wasn't until I thought about this I'm like, oh, actually that makes a lot of sense. Because as much as I like the idea of a demon kraken and a shark beast, like I don't know, shark turtle. I mean, Brushwag's the only one that is kind of gets away, because Brushwag, I think there's only been one other Brushwag in the entirety of Magic, and it's a really weird card.
Is it a bit of a cheat to have Beast as one of the creature types, because that just can be anything?
Well, yeah, that's I guess imagine like I guess a Helion Beast, Elemental Beast. I mean, I guess it's a prefix to make it seem. And as you said before, Beast doesn't just denote what kind of animal it is; it just denotes bestiality, doesn't it?
That's true. I did say that, and I am generally quite correct. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking what they've done is they've chosen some innocuous ones like Shark Beast or Elemental Otter. The fact there's an otter now in the game, oh my god, I need to make like a Animals of Farthing Wood deck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. That's a deep cut. But imagine that, because you've got badgers, you've got snakes, you've got foxes. Now I've got an otter. Yeah, I'm making it's happening. It's better than the Watership Down, where it's just rabbits and murder.
Which, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could probably make a deck out of that already.
Yeah, but it's just all of the anthropomorphized animals from Unstable, because it's the only way I can think to make that work. Anyway, but yeah, so it's
good that a lot of these creature types. It's good that a lot of these creature types aren't just mammals, and I mean that because in a lot of the key art, it does seem to be just like, oh, there's a badger that's got really giant, or there seems to be some kind of like ferret that's now really huge. Yeah. Like they have added in, you know, krakens and dinosaurs and whales.
Helions, elemental, demon. Demon is a good one, because I was looking up, because I know we're going to move on to this at some point where we talk about like the best combinations we can think of, and demon's one of the ones that every time I try to think about like of a cool one that I can imagine on a card, demon was always the one that kind of came up to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but then I was like, oh, demon dragon. There's not been a demon dragon. Yes, there has Malfagor, and then I got over it, and it wasn't. So
it's cool. Demon's a really good one in terms of, because I was thinking this for exactly the same reasons about what creature types I want to be using, and demon is a really nice way for them to have their cake and eat it in terms of how they can portray these creatures. Because one of the things that I think we've spoken about it before, either on air or not, but they might be cutting themselves off a little bit from what they can do creatively if every creature type they pick is just something huge or like, you know, on all 4 legs. We didn't think that they were going to do like humanoid things, but if you say demon, then you can do like a humanoid, so like a demon kraken could still look actually quite humanoid. Like in my mind, I'm thinking of Rexiel the Rising Deep or something like that.
Yeah, which actually looks more like the kraken from Jason the Argonauts rather than like the kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Or like a Cthulhu kind of analog.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And also I think it's, you just touched on the word humanoid there, because that's another prediction I have for this set. I don't think we're going to get any sentient humanoid races on this plane.
Outside of Vivian Reed, who looks
who is an outsider. That's what I mean. I think the plane itself, Because these mutations, this is what this other question that I was thinking about is, why are these mutations happening? And the way I'm looking at the set is what I'm looking at almost like it's a fresh, this is like a budding flower, you know, it's the beginning of its growth, and it's having an explosion of growth because and I don't want to say the royal, because the royal's kind of been overdone. And the annoying thing is, because we're going back to Zendikar, a lot of the ways that I looked at Ikoria before I kind of actually thought about it more, was that a lot of what Ikoria could do can make up a lot of the failings of Zendikar and kind of take us back to that kind of a plane where it's this virgin plane with all of this crazy nonsense going on that's untouched by you know, sentient human hands or orc hands or whatever. So there hasn't been cultivated, it hasn't been cultured or anything. And I would have liked to have seen, basically, this is what happens when nature's let loose and left to go on its own. And it's this royal effect that's causing these fluctuations. I don't want it to be human involvement. I don't want it to be like the Simic of where they're trying to push.
How would you drive a story? How would the narrative be driven?
Because you then, I guess, annoyingly, you follow planeswalkers and they get immediately split by whatever is happening. They're set on their own 3 separate paths of being able to get. I mean, obviously, they'd have to have a reason for not to be able to planeswalk. But sometimes, I mean, this is where I stand by, where sometimes the plane itself is more interesting, and maybe the animals themselves have sentience, maybe the creatures themselves have sentience. When you're that big and you mutate that much, your brain mutates, so you can actually be smart. Imagine if we follow the first few stories and it is this Kraken horror, and it's, you know, slowly starting to realize its own way of the world. I mean, it's a very weird way to take the story.
Well, no, I think they've set a precedence, though. They've set a precedence with that in C19 with the Nicobolas stories. Yeah. Like, that was a very primordial feeling. Where we see, that kind of internal monologue.
Yeah, and then we see and then they have the planeswalkers come in, and the planeswalkers are there for whatever reason they need to be. We don't actually know what Vivian's intentions are or motivations are, because she's not been given any like secret plan or anything off the back of the arcs that we know about. So I would like to see that the only people that we have sentience there are the planeswalkers, but they're not going through a trial and tribulation. It's more them exploring. Imagine if she's just gone, you know what, kick back, I'm going to have a little holiday. And she goes on holiday to one of the best places she knows, Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. And then
where there are no societies.
And then it's a one-person adventure of her getting into all the trouble, trying to kind of like how Kiora was trying to take off Erixmathes and trying to get him onto her side. Maybe she's just there to, you know, bounce around and have some fun. You know, walking on. Do you still think
Kiora is going to pop up in this set? It seems like
I would be surprised if she doesn't, because we need a way to get to the water, to get to the water side of it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And if we've got Kraken demons and that kind of thing, it would be weird not to have the sea kind of around. And also, Kiora's also at a point of where, you know, I mean, I'm surprised she can't really do much going back to Zendikar and fixing things like Nissa can. So what's she going to do? She's like, kick it. Let's go and see what other big Krakens are around.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe they will be saving her for Zendikar instead.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And that's the only annoying thing about the set that I can think of right now, is that it doesn't give me enough reason to think it's separate from Zendikar, in terms of Zendikar had that ability to have giant Baloths. And the environment was massively giganticized. Like, Oran Reef is huge. Obviously, they've ruined Zendikar, but since we're going back to Zendikar, it'd be weird to step on the heels of what it used to be and then try and bring Zendikar back to what it used to be.
Well, yeah, they could be. Zendikar could look very different. Like, it still might be adventure plane, but it could be a very different kind of adventure.
Yeah. Whereas, and also the other thing as well, if we do have this mutation thing, then we need to justify what the mutation is, like what's causing it. Maybe it's mana fluctuations, but again, that's just like the royal. So that's the only part that I'm kind of stumped on. But I would like to see it focused on the animals and the nature rather than any of the sentient species, especially since we haven't really seen any yet. Or if they're massively in remission. Like, imagine you just had this one little holdout, kind of ish like Innistrad, of where the monsters and the horrors and the nightmares, they were overtaking more.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, that's a lot to think about, and we don't actually know that much about the narrative or the world building of Ikoria yet. They've only been dropping in these kind of meme-ish tidbits as to what we can expect, which I'm happy with. Like, I'm kind of excited to sort of maybe get like information only, like a tiny bit of info until it's all released, and you can really dive in.
If they do those cards that they did kind of with Jace the Mind Sculptor, where they split it up like a stained glass window and they give you a little section by section, because I think another thing they could do with this is do a separate way of level up counters to mutate, because number of times it has mutated. I mean, it could be like saying, I like to think of Hex Drinker, for example, as a good example of how it starts off as a 1/1, then it becomes protection from instants, then protection from everything as you level it up. Obviously, all the level up creatures do a similar kind of thing of where they build up and up and up. To me, that doesn't feel like that's like tutoring and becoming increase in knowledge, Whereas the non-humanoid ones like Hex Drinker, I'm like, that is mutation, that's evolution, that's you growing as an organism to have defense mechanisms, or in this case, I guess, aggressive aggressions. But also, I think this might be, as you've been saying a couple of weeks in a row now, the converted mana cost matter set. I think we're going to see Battle Cruiser Limited, of where you.
Well, there definitely seems to be X spells in this one. A lot of the information that's coming out does relate to X spells. Yeah. So with X in the mana cost.
Things like a card with text 4 or more times this game, which means you'll be doing things a lot. Which usually, if you need to be doing things a lot, either the game's slow, or you've got a lot of mana available. And if it's
this is definitely going to be a Battle Cruiser set for sure. Yeah, it will definitely be swinging in big weirdly
enough, the first Battle Cruiser set properly was Rise of the Eldrazi, which was on Zendikar. So it does feel like a Zendikar retcon at this point, but I mean that's my headcanon kind of forming into something that I already know Zendikar, so obviously a lot of my thoughts will move towards that. I can imagine something I haven't seen yet, but I don't know what Ikoria is going to be, so it's easy for me to gravitate towards an idea I already have and know works. But,
I kind of trust that the design team probably understands the similarities, and that might actually be what they're banking on, because then the whole kind of if they're doing sets that are only like one-off sets, then they still want to keep the kind of coherence across a whole year's worth of Magic. Then they might be, they do almost like a rainbow effect, where every set that's next to another set shares something sort of thematically, but then blends into something else. So like the set after Zendikar. Or the set after Zendikar might have nature and technology be the main thing, whereas the set before Zendikar was, purely sort of fantasy and like Krakens, which fits into Theros, and so it kind of blends through these themes. That might be the way forward that they go.
I'm also expecting Zendikar Rising to be more of a focused on the allies and on the environment, and obviously we're not going back to it being fixed. So I guess it's their way to have their cake and eat it by going, here's a new set that replicates what Zendikar used to be, and then we're also going back to Zendikar of where it is now to try and fix it. That kind of like 1-2 of where they give you everything you wanted, and then they go, well, let's try and fix the other thing that we kind of broke, and you kind of like soften people up with this, hey, you already got all the Balos and the big nonsense going on, don't worry, we gave you a whole set of that, now let's go back and try and fix Zendikar.
Sure.
So
all right,
so
cool.
Got some crazy you've got some creature types that you think are bonkers nonsense.
Well, no, I mean, because we kind of set ourselves the challenge for this. This is kind of like a reaction podcast as opposed to too much kind of speculation moving forward. So we obviously have our ideas, but this was mostly in response to sort of seeing Gavin Verhey like having the time of his life, spilling all these little beans in front of the Magic Twitter community, and kind of thinking, well, what creatures would I personally want to play with? And this, I kind of think this is if they were printed on the same card, because if they're obviously printed on different cards and you merge them together, then you can do whatever the hell you want. But if I'm taking the conceit that actually if I wanted to see a creature on one bit of cardboard, this is what I'd want to see, and this is how I'd wanted to see it expressed as well. So my first one is I'd really want to see a fish devil.
Not a devilfish.
No, not a devilfish, because that actually sounds like a proper fish. That's
a thing. Devilfish is a thing.
Exactly. So I want to see a fish devil. Yeah.
Okay.
The way that in my head I see it expressed is that we're doing this kind of humanoid type thing. So this is the space which I think merfolk could potentially fit into if they don't have merfolk in this set. So you have I'm thinking fish body with a big fish tail, so like a kind of very classic mermaid look, but with big muscly arms, and then a big fish head with devil horns, and it's red.
Fish head again. Okay, cool.
Like a fish head, and it's quite spiky.
Not recolored merfolk.
No, like its own thing, but again, it's like the Mero sort of, but like a devil Mero.
Because the Triton's fork, and then obviously pitchforks are very much exactly. And I could see that happening. I like the idea of red merfolk. Red merfolk, I can imagine looking quite cool. And if they
exactly.
Demon. And it's kind of, they did a little bit of this with the Meros when in Shadowmoor, which and I liked the look of the darker merfolk.
Yeah, think like Sig River Guide, but with giant horns and a pitchfork. Or Sig River Cutthroat. Yeah. You've always thought Sig was quite horny.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no, it's not the River Guide one. The River Guide looks a bit like a pleb.
River Cutthroat.
River Cutthroat. Hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that bad boy thing going on.
He has. He's got that. Yeah, exactly. Shanky in the night. Yeah.
Cool. Moving swiftly on. My second creature type, which I'd love to see, is and I really don't think they'll have this creature type in the set, but if they do, I think it'd be brilliant. Is an ox wall. An ox wall.
Okay.
They haven't mentioned walls,
Wait,
but
no,
I
they
think
haven't.
no. But I think if I was to be in a world or like an Ikoria plane where there's pretty much no civilization, but there's these giant behemoths, and I wanted to build some kind of settlement as like the visiting planeswalker, there's nothing better than if I see
Build it out.
like a kaiju-sized ox or cow
Oh,
with
I see.
horns that stretch for like 5 kilometers in
Right,
either
right, right,
direction.
right. And he's just so
And
big he can't move, so that's what makes it a wolf.
He's like a giant Snorlax, so he just
Oh, I like
plonks
that,
himself down in like a ravine. His horns stretch out, and they're like, they're like sort of 50 feet tall
Yeah,
horns, and they
if
stretch
Snorlax
out.
was a creature type, it would be a beast, a wall beast, I reckon.
Yeah,
Or a
exactly.
beast wolf.
I'm just
That's
thinking,
fair.
and like, I don't know how you would get into your own settlement. Maybe you'd have to go through the nostrils of the beast and out the back end.
Oh, this is getting weird. So it has to eat you for you to be able to get in it.
I just like the idea of this like continent-sized or like, well, no, continent, city-sized ox, and his horns are the wall of your like enclosure.
Okay,
I love that idea.
See, now I'm imagining Monstro, like they actually make a whale big enough that it has a city inside it.
Yeah, like
That'd
think
be
of like
really
Slinvoda, but it's like what's it? Who sits inside the whale in the allegory?
Jonah.
Is it Jonah? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that, but like a billion times bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, yeah, I like that.
Ox
I like that.
wolf.
I'm imagining
I
it.
like
It
that
looks
idea.
hilarious. Cool. I like it.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you feed
My
it? What
last
does it eat?
one.
Anyway, quite cool.
What does it
Not
eat?
logistics. Next one. Next one.
I don't know. I don't feed it. It kind of sits there.
God, if it was a female, the udders. Anyway, right. Moving on. Next one.
You're so obsessed with udders. I think I have a conversation with you every
don't
once
be
every 2
utterly
days.
ridiculous. I'm not.
Oh
obsessed
dear
with
God!
it.
The last one I'm talking about, and this again, they've not mentioned this, but if they have demons, then I'm guessing they have angels. So the last one I want to see is Insect Angel.
Oh. Okay.
How fucking gross does that sound? And the way I'm imagining it in my head is that
really
you
pretty.
take like no, you take something like a praying mantis.
I was going to
or
say a praying
millipede.
mantis, yeah.
Yeah. Or like a
all the
millipede,
ones.
but with like a giant mandibles on its face.
Yeah.
But then the way it's represented on the card is it does have like these big angel wings, and it is in some kind of like stained glass window religious pose.
Yeah.
If you could imagine an insect.
Angels obviously are manifestations of white mana, so it kind of.
But they have demons.
Hands a little bit.
And demons are manifestations of black mana.
Yeah, but we haven't seen angels really stretch. I mean, we've seen lots of different types of demons. I feel like demons almost like you could preface something being demonic, and then you could classify it as a demon. Whereas
sure,
I don't. Yeah.
Hey man, like this is just what I want.
Possible.
Like
even
insect
angel mutant would be quite cool.
And I would happily have it like if you imagine like the most disgusting creature you've ever imagined, but illustrated by Magali Villeneuve,
Well, I mean, our
who does things
like you know that, right?
Very good. But yeah, Magali Villeneuve, who like does things like she did like the Serra Planeswalker, and she's done Taser Karlov and all these different kinds of things. These beautiful sort of use of light and feathers and things like that, and then just stick a big fucking ugly mantis on the front of it. Like I just think I'd love it. I'd love it.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Go on then.
Right.
You have a few. Go on.
I do have a few. So I've gone for ones that are a little bit like they already gave us enough of like the really silly things. So I went for things I thought would be really cool. One I think would be really cool: a demon phoenix.
Demon phoenix.
Yeah. So you can never kill the demon because it always comes back, but it can never return to hell because it always comes back
mechanically. Would it be because again, like because we're thinking of demons as being slightly sort of humanoid? Are you like in your head? Are you thinking of like a nightmare?
No. So it's a phoenix.
Like so, it's still a phoenix essentially.
Phoenix, not a phoenix form of demon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you know how like a nightmare horse? It's not a horse version of a nightmare. It's a nightmare version of a horse.
Have they done black versions of phoenixes yet?
No, not yet, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, like. For me, there was this idea of Gristlebrand where the way that Innistrad works is they always come back again, reborn as something else.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, imagine that, but it's the same demon that comes back and back and back, and the only way you can't, and it doesn't necessarily have any like benevolence, but because it's not the psychology of a demon, it's the fact it's got the instinct of a phoenix, but it is of demonic origin. So I think that's cool because it doubles down on the coming back, but it's also then you have the dichotomy of it can't return back to the hell because it always comes back, dragged back to Earth, and that'd be quite cool. So the one that I really want, and this is me personally, I want a Fox Archon. Yeah.
What, like a kitsune riding on the back of another
Yeah,
thing?
not like a fox. Is it? Or no, I want it to be riding a fox. So I want it to be a kitsune riding a fox. I want it. So instead of it being like Argul or whatever it is, and the Ari or whatever her name is, the Knight of Windgrace.
Uriel.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like a human riding a panther or a panther riding a human. Well, that didn't happen, but I want it to be a fox on a fox arc. I want it to be fox because they're bound together anyway. These archons, their mounts and their selves are like all one being essentially. So yeah, that's what I want.
You want the double fox?
Yeah, basically, kind of like how the archon from Ravnica, the black white one. I can't remember off the top of my head. The one that exiles something when it comes in, or these.
Yeah, it's right. It's riding like a tiger with wings.
It's a white tigery kind of thing. Yeah, I want that, but I want it also to be a.
Is the fox flying? It's a flying fox.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Is the kitsune rider wearing armor?
Yeah. And it's also got like this kind of like crest that kind of flows back as well. Like, yeah, I want it to look like I want an 8.5 tails archon basically.
I do like the idea of like an armored kitsune, because we did get the samurai kitsune obviously in Kamigawa. I'd like the idea of like a medieval looking kitsune. That would be pretty cool.
Because I'd like to see all of the patrons kind of reimagined, because I didn't like any of them particularly. Like the patron of the Aki, the patron of the Nezumi, the patron of the kitsune. And none of them are particularly cool. The ones that all have offerings from the original the Kamigawa. I want those reimagined. And then my last one. And this is just something because I was looking down through all of the different creature types. Chameleon came up. I want a nightmare chameleon. Yeah.
A nightmare chameleon.
Yeah. Imagine in
what way
Randall
is it a
Monsters,
nightmare?
Inc. Randall from Monsters
Oh,
Inc.
okay. So it like terrorizes you.
Yeah, because you can't see it.
Not that its skin turns into like your nightmare. You want it to be like it's invisible.
You have no idea. No one knows what it looks like.
Sure.
Because it's not necessarily invisible, but because it can become anything. It's not like Lazarus where it become anything tangibly, because it can blend into anything. No one actually has any idea about its tangibility.
Yeah.
And it can it can follow you around as your shadow.
Cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So I basically want to take I'm very much like. I like taking the normality of one. I mean, chameleons aren't even that normal. If you had a look at one recently, they are weird ass things. They've got little mitten hands. It's all very strange. But yeah, then how can we crank those up? So being able to add horror, nightmare, or demon to creature. I think they've realised this themselves, because in Ravnica they did the Sphinx nightmare with Dream Eater.
That was really cool.
Realise that you can take your normal like lovely things and go and twist it, which is what Ikoria I feel like is going to be. It's like let's do all these normal things like badgers and otters and just jack them up, bitch. Kaiju.
Yeah, they tend to put nightmare on things like horses, don't they? Nightmare horse is a creature type that keeps popping up, so it's nice when they put nightmare on other things.
Yeah, Carnival Hellstein, and obviously you had the original Nightmare from day one as well.
Yeah,
I think that was taken from lore, from someone like from actual like real life lore. But yeah, like adding like demon or nightmare shouldn't be that difficult. You just don't want to do it too often, otherwise it takes the fun out of it. This is why I'm really glad that we don't have much variation on angels, because it gives them a chance to do it in the future. Like the fact that Nicobolas made male angels for Amonkhet, and it flagged up and everyone went, that's really weird because there shouldn't be male angels, and everyone went, yeah, but it's Nicobolas that made them, so obviously he's going to be so proud he's going to make them male because he's male, and it kind of gives a twist to the trope. And obviously you don't want to fuck the trope up too much, otherwise it's not a trope anymore, it's just tripe. Hey,
I'm not going to dignify that one.
Thanks. Good. It's right. I'll let Yep, that's applause. I hear it across the country.
People in Italy are on their balconies just applauding that one.
Oh, yes, good sir. Good sir. Well done, sir. Yeah. But yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited because I think that I really hope that these, big things, I really hope these Japanese style artworks are actually true. I know that not everyone's cup of tea. I get that like manga and anime style can be a bit too stylized for some people. I wouldn't even mind going back to some of the weird, the softer artworks we used to get from back in the day from like John Avon and people like that. But if our showcases are going to be super kaiju, I am so hyped.
I'm up for that. I like anime, so yeah, I was really happy with the anime Planewalkers.
You can do like really cool stylizations on it. I mean, we saw it a little bit with the War of the Spark Planeswalkers. Yeah. Because they got 8 different treatments. Because they went giddy with Planeswalker hype. But some of theirs looked really, really, really cool. I like the fact they diversifies the style across all of them. But we have seen a couple of artworks which are a bit more, let's say, cartoony. And I feel like if they push that to the envelope, but they make it really hyper stylized, cartoony, like like One Punch Man style or something like that, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah, I would happily see that on promo cards. I don't necessarily think I'd like to see it in my main game. I do like diversity of art style, but yeah,
I don't think it alienates too much. Because even when you look back at the Jason Chandra dual deck one, they do look a bit strange. I mean, I like them because I like that style of artwork. But when you're used to the Magic backgrounds, sometimes you look at some artworks and you're like, oh, that doesn't look like a Magic card.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, this is a bit of a shorter one. We're kind of testing out our remote recording sort of chops, and essentially we didn't necessarily want to drag out this kind of episode too much, because if you speculate for 2 hours, then you suddenly just sound like you're wearing tin hats, and you might as well just wait until it gets released. So yeah, thought
I've already boarded up my bedroom door.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah,
Phoenixes away from me.
So we just thought we'd dip our toes in. So guys, obviously this is a bit of a weird time for everyone, so we really do appreciate you listening in to our Magic ramblings. We don't have a Patreon, and we're not really in the kind of place right now where we're thinking of setting up a Patreon. It's just not our jam right now. Probably will in the future. So I will say that the best way to support this podcast and this content, especially at a time where everyone's hoovering up content left and right, because it's all we can do right now, is to share this podcast with a friend. If you've got a friend who you think might be interested, who plays Magic, maybe they are a Vorthos and they like other Vorthos content, fling it their way, because it's such a diverse community that I'm sure people are always waiting for something new. The other way to support us is to go to our Twitter, mtflavouring, and then get involved there. We're doing surveys every day. We're doing hypotheticals every day. We're getting engaged with people's sort of ideas about the lore and about how Magic is expressed. I'm always up for talking to new people about that. One thing I will mention, we haven't mentioned it in like 14 episodes now. If you haven't been able to discern from the actual title of our podcast, is flavouring is spelt with an O-U-R.
Yeah, sorry, we're British.
Yeah, we're English.
We touch tea and tip him.
Yeah, exactly. And we go lobster red in the sun and shout abuse at football games. So yeah, we're an O-U-R. So if you're looking for us online, if you're looking for us on things like Twitter, just make sure it's flavouring rather than flavouring.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Flavouring.
Because it's ours. It's ours to share.
Yeah, it's flavouring because it's ours to share. So just remember that next time that you're looking out for us.
Oh god, it was so bad.
It was so bad, but it's staying in. Again, guys, we are going to try and get better at the remote recording thing, but you'll have to bear with us because we're in the same boat as everyone else right now. And just be safe, guys. It's a bit of a weird time, and look after each other if you can.
Yeah, happy days.
Happy days. All right, as ever, guys, this has been Magic the Flavouring. Thank you very much for listening.
I'll see you soon.